Good evening, Garden City. I'd like to call to order regular City Council meeting for Monday, September 23rd, 2024 at 7 p.m. Our first order of business is our opening ceremony, which consists of the national anthem, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence for those service members who have given their lives for our country, and also some of our first responders lately that have given their lives also. If everyone would please rise.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Mr. Smith, if you take roll call, please.
Mayor Jacobs.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Dole.
Present.
Councilmember Karafotis.
Here.
Councilmember Squires.
Here.
Councilmember Earl.
Here.
Councilmember Witt.
Here.
Councilmember Lynch.
Here.
You have a quorum of 7.
Thank you. Item 4 is the approval of the agenda.
Mayor,
Councilmember Witt.
I make a motion to approve the Monday, September 23rd, 2024 council meeting agenda as presented.
Support.
Or from Councilmember Lynch. Comments from the table? From the public? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Okay, we have no recognitions. I don't see any state or county officials. No presentations. I didn't see any community events here. Petitions and communications, no public hearings. Item 11 is the consent agenda.
Mayor,
Councilmember Witt.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda items A 1 through 6, including 6A and B.
Support.
Support from Councilmember Squires. Comments from the table? From the public? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. We'll move on to action items. This is a motion to accept our treasurer's resignation.
Mayor,
Councilmember Dole.
I'd like to motion to accept the resignation of Brian Marciniak as the treasurer of Garden City effective 9/16/2024 and declare the treasurer position vacant.
Support.
Support from Councilmember Karafotis. Discussion from the table? From the public? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Item 2 is fee schedule amendment, additional room rates, Radcliffe Center. Parks and Rec Director, Ms. Erica Smith.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Tonight, I'm here to present new room rental fees as we look to expand on what is currently available for the public to rent at Radcliffe Center. A little bit of background, we currently do offer private room rental options for 4 of our rooms, which are used by a variety of renters who are either hosting classes, workshops, or other types of private events, with the fees that are approved in the current fee schedule. So tonight, well, as community has been inquiring about the new spaces that have been completed, looking for rental options, staff have been working on figuring out how to do that. So some of the rooms like the card room, spaceport, we have some green spaces like the patio and the courtyards, as well as the movie theater that currently are not available for private rental. With such unique spaces available and our desire to invite the community to enjoy those spaces and host one-time celebrations or events. This could be birthday parties, showers, receptions, or other gatherings that are not always things that people can accommodate in their homes. So the desire to offer that in an affordable way is what staff set out to do. So when considering rates, staff really looked at what was current in our fee schedule, the prices that we're already charging for meeting rooms and the auditorium. Staff looked at the current trends in fees, so there's some other party facilities that a lot of parents would know, like Bounce It Up, Airtime, Zap Zone, to compare the value, the pricing of those options, what they offer. We reviewed some local meeting rooms. And, what we sort of came to is Radcliffe has some unique items. And we can accommodate a variety of group sizes. We've got great parking, great staff. So we came up with a variety of options. So in your packet, if you saw the proposed sort of chart, there's a lot to take in because there's a lot of different rooms and there's a few ways that people can rent them. So, I think I'll turn over for you, the council and mayor, if you have questions that I can answer about that.
Council have any questions for Ms. Smith?
Mayor,
Councilmember Karafotis.
the public is so glad this is happening. They've been asking for this since Radcliffe became an idea, so it's just wonderful. A question I just want to make clear, it says like a cost per, and then it says it's $20 per person. So it's the room rental per hour, then $20 a person?
No, so there's a couple of options, as I said. There is a party package that is based on a minimum of 10 and a per person rate. So this is based on maybe kid parties and birthday parties. So that option would be best if you have 10, because that's the minimum. And then there's different options you can upgrade. That's the food options. The straight hourly rate is just an hourly room rental.
Okay.
So not a per person.
Okay. And then, is there pricing for nonprofits? I know in the past Radcliffe has been.
No, actually, that is something we're still working on.
Okay.
Is a nonprofit and our free community space room, because that's just going to be a little different because there wasn't in this set of work that we did, but that will be coming as well.
Okay. And then no fee event. So obviously you can't charge to get in the room, but can you actually have a fundraiser in one of these rooms?
Are you reading in the policies
Yeah.
where it said no
It says,
fee?
no, you can't charge a fee for entrance.
Yeah, I mean, that was a policy that's been in here. I believe that it doesn't mean you can't do a fundraising event.
Okay.
It just, you can't charge everybody just to enter.
Right. Okay,
But
perfect.
you could charge for something else that you're doing there, the way it currently is set up.
Okay. And then my last question is, I saw the auditorium is $100 an hour, but so is the card room. One fits 339 people and one fits 52. Do we think that we're going to get $100 an hour for the card room? I'm just thinking playing cards, someone's going to rent it, whether it's a fundraiser or not. If you're going to play cards for 3 hours, that's $300 right off the top. So I was just curious. You said
Yeah, the auditorium was a price already set, and I believe it's one of the best values we have,
It
just based
certainly
on the
is.
size. But there are limits to it, and I think the card room, the thinking was it's very unique. It has a lot more decorative features and carpet and things that, I don't know, I think based on some of the other rooms, which are also over currently 70, like the Heritage Room. I think it was based on that.
Okay, I'm just curious. Yeah,
But,
it's
you
good
know,
prices for the
we're
spaceport and
definitely
stuff.
open to exploring what the feedback is from, of course, council, but also the community to know, are we, you know, is this too much for that? Because I think you're right when you think of the card room, but remember there's also a resident discount in there per hour, so you can take $20 off of that. So there's a lot of ways to, I think, get creative with how you could use some of the spaces.
I think everybody's very excited, especially for the esports and the spaceport and all that, and the movie theater. People cannot wait to rent the movie theater.
Yeah, yeah, well, we're excited too, for sure.
I'm glad. Thank you.
Good.
Thank you. Any further questions? Councilmember Lynch.
I was going to ask about the card room also. For clarification, if a group of people wanted to start, I don't know, just playing pinochle once a week, would that be something they would have to do, or would Radcliffe Center just start blocking time for Garden City residents and maybe charge you a $2 entrance fee like they used to, or something like
Yeah,
that?
that is a great question, and I think the way we're approaching it is, yes, if it's during the daytime, we're kind of starting that. If a group wants to come in and play cards, and they're just individuals or a group, I think it's a $1 fee, a drop-in. The difference is if it becomes a private event, and again, in the card room, we looked into, can we host euchre and, you know, do all these tournaments? Sometimes people like to play with money, and when you get into the government setting, that's something we can't really do without a lot of licensing and regulations. So we really want to keep to the daytime drop-in for pinochle, where people are not betting, you know, or doing those things. But the private rentals, if people want to rent it for their group, you know, that's sort of what that option is meant for.
Because if they were playing euchre, let's say, and they wanted to have a euchre tournament, the licensing would be on the group having the tournament, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. The other question, I had two other questions. The game room is $50 an hour, but the basic rooms are $60 an hour, and the game room has all the goodies in it, I'll call it. Why is that one?
So the adult game room
more
is 50.
than-
Well, I think it is based upon how many can, like the capacity. So the game room actually is only capacity of 20, and there's no seating. So that's the pool table, the ping pong table. So I think it was just considering how many people can use that. You know, it's a great add-on room, so that's one of the things in the packages. You get 2 rooms, and that's a nice add-on room if you're interested, because it's more activity-based. It's not really set up for a bunch of tables and maybe eating and that sort of thing. So,
Okay.
so I think that is probably,
The add-on room makes total sense to me. I just was curious on that.
Yeah.
And then with the esports and spaceport, are we going to have someone from the city in there with them? So
Yep.
that if something goes awry with the equipment,
yeah.
have somebody there to,
Absolutely. The spaceport, when we're open, or esports, will always have a staff person for a party like that. The only one maybe not is when the schools are using it, because they have their staff and we're, you know.
okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Any further comments from the table? From the public? Okay. Motion is in order.
Mayor,
Councilmember Witt.
I'd like to make a motion to amend the fee schedule to include additional rooms and rates for private party rentals at Radcliffe Community Center.
Support. We all like that one.
Support from Councilmember Earl. I think we just had discussions. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Item 3 is just calling for a public hearing on Chapter 124 marijuana establishment regulations.
Mayor,
Councilmember Dole.
to call for a public hearing for Monday, October 28th, 2024 at 7 p.m. to consider amendments to Chapter 124 marijuana establishment regulations.
Support.
Support from Councilmember Karafotis. Any comments from the table? Again, this is just calling for a public hearing. Public have any comments on this? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Okay, no other business. Public comments. You'll have 3 minutes, and I have some comment papers, so I will call up Ms. Jenna McMeechan.
McMeekin?
You were very close. Hi, I'm Jenna McMeekin, and I'm here tonight on behalf of the Garden City PTA Council. Wanted to make you guys all aware that the Garden City PTA Council will be holding a candidate forum. It is scheduled for October 7th. It will be held in the high school auditorium. All viable candidates, as registered with Wayne County, have been invited. And will be able to be asked questions by a moderator and then have an informal Q&A, well, not an informal Q&A, informal meet and greet session following the event. PTA Council is a 501c3, so it is nonprofit, nonpartisan, and we are seeking to allow voters to get to know more about all of the candidates that are running for City Council.
Okay, you said it's October 7th where?
October 7th, it is at the high school auditorium. I have given a flyer to Mr. Smith to keep on file, but also if anybody wants to have it up at City Hall to advertise it, or at your businesses, we have flyers available to advertise the event.
Okay, what time? Yep.
It is from 6 to 7:30 p.m.
I would like some flyers.
And there is also a QR code that will be on the flyers. If residents would like to submit questions for consideration, not all questions can be entertained, but we will try to condense them and be able to present some questions for the candidates.
Awesome. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, next is Ms. Monica Anderson.
It's nice to see you all. Many of you know me, and probably there's a few that probably wish you didn't. But I'm here from Arizona. I was born and raised in Garden City. I have my birth home at 28909 Pardo Street. And as you know, there's the sidewalk issue in front of the house. Well, I waited till the rates were up, and I took a small mortgage out and to fix up that house and my house in Arizona a little bit. But this one, to fix it up with the idea that I'm 75 now, maybe it's time to sell it. I have done this for over 25 years, and obviously it's taken its toll. So if you Google property porn, my face should come up. So what I had done was tried to help a young man that was going to be the handyman. I said, well, in exchange for painting the house and maybe the sidewalks, I can help you get your contractor's license. Someday you can have a house. Well, what he did was take me as the sucker of the year, took the money and did nothing, and he refused. So I've had to hire a lawyer. I'm not going to let him get away with it. I hired a lawyer, and she had to take him to court in Redford. So I just want you to know that. And so now, where I'm at, I have X amount of money. The house looks terrible. It needs to be painted. That is such a visible house. It represents the flavor of Garden City. My parents would not like it looking like this. They gave me the job because they knew that I'd give my lifeblood to take care of it. So I have a quandary to either paint the house, try to get somebody to paint it before the year's up or as soon as possible, or put in a sidewalk. The sidewalk won't help me sell the house. I've carried the burden for this long, so I need to do what I can to make the house marketable. I want to end up with a positive experience. So, and as a family member that may need to move in the house, it's a sister, and there's some of this stuff in the works. But I just want you to know that I'm doing my best to resolve this, and I don't want to keep going back to court with this. I think the house needs to be painted first, because again, I won't be able to sell it or show it that way. And then just real briefly, I just want you to know the one part that really cut to my heart through all this whole thing was when I found out that a few of you, when you were on a phone call, you yanked the grandfather clause. And what that told me, 85 over, well, we're working on it toward a century of my family, my parents, and then myself being completely dedicated to that corner in Garden City with taxes and trying to do our best to keep up the house.
15 seconds.
Okay, and I just felt that in doing that, it told me that we didn't matter. And I just want you to know we do. We do matter, as everyone does. So I'm on your all side. I love Garden City. It'll always be my hometown.
That's
and I do the
fine.
best I can, okay?
Okay, thank you. Miss Carol Douglas.
Hello. My name is Carol Douglas. I just moved to your city last month, and to my surprise, the first time I pulled in the driveway in the dark, there's a very bad rat infestation, literally hundreds. I did call Orkin, and I did notify the city. They're coming from the dumpsters at the Luna Village Apartments at Vinoy and Warren, and that dumpster is literally inches from my property. I don't think it's fair that they should put it right against me like that. I moved here to be close to my granddaughter and have my dog have a yard. They trimmed some trees and got rid of some grass, but it's still terrible back there. When I have errands, I go check and take pictures and go back to the city, and there's still rats. I mean, on one occasion, they killed 69, and they're still running all over the place. I have pictures. I am afraid to have my granddaughter out there. I'm afraid to let my dog out. I feel sorry that I moved here. It's creepy. I can't sit outside without holding my feet up. It's disgusting. And I don't know if they can move their dumpsters a little further away from me. They have a huge parking lot. They don't need to be against me like that. Gosh, please do something about them nasty rats. I came from a townhome that never had rats. I brought their newsletter. They fine the people $50 for the offense, and then if it happens again, it's $100 and possible legal action. They make sure that you put the garbage in the dumpster, close the door, leave the lid closed, and that way they don't have a food source. So they might want to do the same thing as my other townhouse and get rid of the stinking rats.
Okay,
Please.
thank you. I won't go back and forth, but if you're done, I'll make a comment.
Thank you.
I did get the pictures in the email that you guys, I believe you or your husband sent me, and I know our ordinance and building department are looking at it, and hopefully we can get a good resolution for you soon.
I hope so. Thank you.
Okay, I believe it's Miss Cecilia Nesbitt.
Hi, Mayor and Council. I'm Cecilia Nesbitt, a longtime resident. And my question is it possible for us to get some kind of a grant to redo the bathrooms that are in Garden City Park? We have many events in that park, including Music in the Park, which we invite friends from all over the place. I've had friends from Carlton and out in beyond Novi there. But everything's great in the park. I mean, a lot of things have been done. The park is very clean, and we love that little park. Again, people from all over use it, but it takes a downturn when you walk into that restroom. If there's anything that can be done, I would appreciate it being looked into. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Most of us would agree with that, and every time we try to make improvements, unfortunately, not unfortunately, but we can't have cameras in there, so people destroy them, and that's why they're kind of built like they are. But we have looked at possibly other ways, and I'm sure Ms. Smith is looking at something.
Well, I have like a comment on that, if I could. Is there any way to network with other communities on how they've handled that very same situation? There's a lot of parks around Canton and other areas close by, Dearborn Heights, whatever, wherever they have restrooms in public parks. I'd greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
I'm sure Ms. Smith is looking into all that. You're not the first one to complain, as probably all of us have also. Mr. Curtis Castleberry. Hello, sir.
Hey, how's it going, everyone? Curtis Castleberry, Florence Street. I'm also the union president of the Garden City Fire Department, Local 1911. I wanted to come up here on my own time tonight just to kind of talk about this police and fire millage that we got coming up on the ballot here in November. This millage is incredibly important. I'm not just speaking as a member of the fire department, but as a resident, you know, someone who raises their family here. I just want to stress this to everyone out there, not you guys, I'm sure you know, but this is a renewal. It's not a new tax. And the renewal at the 3.5 mils will not increase taxes, but will help maintain current levels of service without putting additional strain on the city's general fund. Because the more people we have staffing these vehicles, the safer the city is. But what I'm looking for is support from everyone in the city. If you'd like to support us, please reach out to our Facebook page, the Garden City Firefighters Local 1911, via Messenger. If you give your name, your address, we're getting yard signs made right now. And if you give us that information and you want a yard sign, you want to support us publicly, we can come by, someone off duty will come by and put a yard sign in your yard for you. So with that said, if the more support we can get, I know we can get this passed and we can keep doing what we're doing. So thanks, guys.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Tyler Rich.
Good afternoon, everybody. How you doing? I'm just gonna make it quick. I'm just here to announce that on October 4th, I'll be hosting my own Meet the Candidate event. I'll be doing so right here in Garden City at Sports Venue at 6 p.m. Just a way that people can, you know, get to know me and talk to me face to face. And I just wanted to, with open arms, invite our current city council to attend and any other candidates. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody else that didn't fill out a form that would like to speak? Can you?
Yes, sir. Or you want me to fill this out?
You can speak first and then just fill it out. And, yeah.
I'm sure most of you know me. My name is Scott Sumeracki, live at 29223 James, directly behind Garden City Collision. I have been filing complaints, and prior to this, well, my first initial police report was on 6/6. It references overspray from Garden City Collision that is on my vehicle, clouds of paint that are just in the air that are extremely excessive. I have multiple videos to prove this and show you. I may have sent them to Kim. I know I emailed you, I never received a response. I called the city manager's office this morning, I never received a response. In addition to that, I have filed a complaint the following week, and the following week, the police were at my home 3 times within 2 weeks. All the residents are upset. and I don't have it in front of me, but I do know it off the top of my head, on 6/14, mind you, all these reports state they were forwarded to the ordinance department, to Officer DeMichael over here, and nothing was done. I even provided video footage, so I'll read you one of them. This is the initial one. I see a large smokestack protruding off the east side of Garden City Collision. The smokestack then exhausts paint mist out of it. The paint mist is thick and appears as if the smokestack isn't high enough, causing the paint mist to be blown directly on Scott's house. Scott provided me with footage, which I'll store on CD and forward it to ordinance officer. The following one names Officer DeMichael specifically. Here's another one that calls me some unsavory names. Now on 6/13, we have this picture. This is the day before the fire inspection. There are no mentions of anything that say of issues with the exhaust. There's 2 violations that have to do with ceiling tiles and door issues. This is a picture from 6/26 that has 4 dumpster loads of garbage being removed from the business, coincidentally at 11:10 a.m. on the day of the final inspection. But Fire Marshal didn't document any of this stuff. He also didn't document issues with the staff. Now, this is what it looked like on 6/13, a day before. This is what it currently looks like. This has been altered twice. So I'd like to know, one, why I can't get a resolution and why I have to call the police and they're at my home twice a month for the last 4 months. And how did we get here from this? And why isn't the city doing anything about it? And why do they think it's okay to allow cancer-causing paint fumes to be just vented into the neighborhood? I have small children. They can't go outside. We get headaches. I've raised this more than one time.
It's time.
I'll be back next week.
Thank you. Any further comments?
I'm just going to make some announcements.
Okay. I have a couple of questions regarding the road project. We had our street done, Bridge Street, probably about 5 years ago now, and we had our neighborhood watch signs taken down by the city when they redid our road, and they were supposed to put them back up after the road was done. I've brought it up at neighborhood watch meetings numerous times, I think the year afterwards.
Stop for 1 second, because I didn't catch the first part of that. When you were talking, but he was talking.
Reset it to 3 minutes.
Yes, I'm not
Go
sure
ahead.
what you're saying, but anyways, it has to do with the road project.
Right.
Okay, when we had our road done, probably about, I think it's 5 years now, on Bridge Street, they took down our neighborhood watch signs. Now, we were told that the city would put them back up. I brought this up probably a year later after the council meeting, but I've brought it up numerous times to the neighborhood watch meetings that we went to, and now they're on hold for whatever reason. So I'd like to know, what do we have to do to get our neighborhood watch signs put back up, going from Moeller to Bridge and Merriman on Moeller? So we have it in both directions. Excuse me, and I think 5 years is kind of long enough to have to wait, as a few other objects or things that have happened on Bridge Street. And the other one is, the road project, excuse me, shows that they're going to redo Moeller from Warren, basically all the way to Ford Road, and I think it was down to Marquette. Now, the section of Moeller from Warren to Rush was done when our street was done 5 years ago, just that section. So I'm here to inquire and not to assume that they're not going to rip up that section again and we'd be charged twice for that section of the road. So Moeller was done, does not need to be done, but yet all of your information on the website regarding this project says from Warren to Ford Road. So that's what I just need to know. Thank you.
Thank you. As far as the signs go, I'm sure city manager will get with DPW and check on the signs. As far as the Moeller repaving, I'm not sure exactly the whole thing, but that is set up through our engineers that rate the roads, and I can't count, I don't know offhand if it's that entire section or if they're just going for a part of it.
Check on that, because I don't think we need to pay twice to have that section redone.
We will.
The way the city goes, I don't have any confidence.
We'll have someone look into that. We'll have an answer next week or next meeting. Any further comments? Mr. Jones.
Yeah, I'd just like to make some announcements of events and so forth that are coming up. The farmhouse has an Oktoberfest food truck event on October 12th at 8 o'clock p.m. There'll be food, beer, music, vendors. Should be a great event. They also have a road rally on September 29th at Maplewood Center, or not Maplewood, at Radcliffe Center. Bingo at the Rec is $5 on October 2nd at 1 o'clock. Board game day is on September 24th from 10 to 2, and that's free. And I'd also like to compliment the staff at Radcliffe Center for accommodating the Lions in our monthly meetings on the third Tuesday of the month. We really appreciate it. We had a good meeting this last week, and thank you very much for making that room available to us.
Thank you. Any further comments? Yes, sir. You can fill out a form after.
And there's a thing that they want to make Garden City a walking community.
Can you state your name, please?
Pardon?
State your name, please.
Oh, my name's Joseph Durigan.
Okay.
I live in Garden City. Anyway, the sidewalks they're putting in Maplewood are on the south side of the street. Now, if you're coming down Maplewood from Merriman, you got sidewalks all the way to the first block. They can't put any on the other side because that's Westland. So they're okay, so if people want to continue to walk, they just got to cross the street there, and they can walk all the way from there to Inkster Road. No problem. The ones they're putting in up there are dangerous. I went over to talk to the guys today that were putting them in, and they agreed with me. They're putting them over driveways, and if you have a little child on a bicycle and he's learning how to ride, he goes down it and he gets to a driveway. It goes down about 3 or 4 inches, and some of them, he can go right into the street. And I think somebody ought to, the guys that are doing it now, they say, we're just doing what the boss tells us, you know. I didn't argue with them or nothing, but so far I haven't had the sidewalks put in my place. But it's in and out. You got the people walking on our side now just because they can get on our side. But like I say, if they wanted to walk, and the sidewalks on the other side of the street are nice and level. They cut a couple like this. They're following the earth instead of making them straight. Level, that's what it should be, level. You go down by the apartments down there in the wintertime, if you're an older person or a handicapped, you can't walk there. That sidewalk slips about 3-4 inches into the street. So very, very dangerous. So people are worried about putting in new sidewalks. I also understand that the city got a chunk of money from the government for sidewalks. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what I heard. And if that's true, that lady back there that wanted sidewalks, good for her. Now another problem I got over there is that stinking sewer behind my house. They call it the Red River Run. I've talked to the county. I told you, I talked to the county for 3 years. I couldn't get Garden City. Garden City, it's not ours. So I got a hold of Wayne County, and they send the head out there, and she came out with an engineer. They looked it over, and he says, he's making notes. Well, you got to decide what he wants to do with it. It's an open I call it's like it's supposed to be a creek. It dries out. When it's got water in it, it's a hospital for baby mosquitoes. Anyway, I've had them out there at least 5 times, 2 times with engineers. The trees along there are falling. They're dying. I've had, I don't know how many trees in my yard died halfway up the yard. So there's something in there that's poison. Just from my house alone, you go 2 houses this way. Dr. Cole Carmen used to live there.
15
a young,
seconds.
healthy doctor used to run up and down the street. He died from brain cancer. You go across the street directly from me, lady, early 60s, brain cancer. You go 2 houses this way.
That's time.
Brain cancer. And there's a lot of other cancers. I don't know everybody on the street at all. You know, this just there's a few people around. Now, if you look at the...
Thank you, sir.
That's
Pardon?
time.
It's 3 minutes.
I ain't done. Okay. But anyway, that's another problem. It is a real problem because, like I say, it's all rental on the other, not all rental, a lot of rental people. They live there 3 years and they move out and they got cancer. Where'd they get it?
Thank you. I have your info, and we are working with, trying to get with Wayne County with the contacts that you gave me. Any further comments? Okay, city manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So tonight, first we had 2 really good questions at the last council meeting, and as we discussed prior, that when questions come up, we do our best, especially those that involve a matter of public concern or just good information, we try and get them out. So I'll be answering those, but first I just want to talk a little bit. We met with Priority Waste Management last week. We managed to get the Chief Operating Officer into the conference room here at City Hall and have a conversation with them about maybe some more improved performance of that contract. They assured us that by the end of last week, they'd have all the necessary trucks in place, and by the beginning of this week, they would have I think it's a logistics driver coordinator, someone who's overseeing everything they do to make sure these routes are getting filled as much as to the 100% performance of the contract. They made some assurances. They also made some acknowledgments that they weren't performing up to their expectations and clearly our expectations, and it was their intentions to resolve that ASAP. We reminded them about some parts of the contract that will help us enforce our interest in them performing that contract. They acknowledged them, and they say hopefully we won't have to use any of those. One, I'd like to encourage residents, if there's an issue with your trash pickup, it's not getting picked up in a timely fashion, or we've noticed it's happened where a recycle bin has gone into a trash bin or a trash bin has gone into the recycle truck. We want to know about those things so we can hold them accountable for making that right. There's a form on the GC website that can report those missed trash pickups. Please utilize them. As we get towards October 1st, we're going to be really monitoring their performance to make sure they're living up to the end of the contract. But I did feel pretty good coming out of the meeting. We've been, the last week seems to be some improvements. We're hoping that continues, but we're trusting and verifying as we go, which dovetails into the first question that a citizen asked last week about, well, if we do find Priority Waste for failure to pick up, what happens with the money? And I thought it was a really good question because we're so fixated on making sure they perform and look at this. So we said, well, yeah, what do you do? So the contract states they either pay or credit us a certain amount per missed pickup. So we could either get a credit on our bill or we can be paid from the company. After we pay them, they pay us. It doesn't exactly clarify who, which option and who gets to pick which one, which is a discussion we'll be having in the event they have to pay some. But then where does that money go? If it's credited to us, it just won't be a bill we pay out of the refuse fund. So our trash fund won't have to pay the money. So, if the funds amount to a high enough amount, that's less money the city's going to owe, then thus less money the taxpayers are going to owe for trash pickup. But if it's paid to us, it may come to the general fund, it may go to the refuse, but it'll come before us to make a decision as to where it goes. I imagine we intend to offset the cost of the bad service. But that was a great question. She was sent an answer to her question, but also I just wanted to answer it publicly because I thought that's a really good question and wanted everybody to hear it. The second one was related to tax revenue and the taxable value of our homes. First, just a blanket answer for that, and then I brought slides to demonstrate the point. But first, The taxable value of Garden City homes was $715.2 million in 2024. Our total tax levy for the operating, refuse, public safety, road bond debt, and 2 library millage is 24.495. That's down from 25.639 mils. So the revenue we'll be bringing in this year is approximately $17.5 million. That includes library revenue, that includes the refuse and the public safety millage in our general operating. The previous year we brought in $16.9 million, and that was based on $661.1 million of taxable value, which then kind of brings up the slides. So if, Zach, if you're down there, can you bring up? I think it's a good time to, especially we have a public safety millage coming up. I know there's been questions, I've watched some meetings in the past where why do we still need this? Why is anyone asking for this? Why are you bringing it to the public for this? And then dovetailing into, hey, what was the taxable value question? I just want to articulate kind of like where we were before the Great Recession, where we are now, and how really the Great Recession is still kind of dragging our taxable value down, even though our true value of their homes are going up. So in the first chart, what we're showing you is the actual dollar amounts of our state equalized value, and the state equalized value is the value of all Garden City homes. And right next to it is in dark blue is what we can actually tax. Because of Proposition A in Headley, we can only tax certain values of the home based on inflation, so we can only go up with inflation. The thing is, house values go above inflation, but the city can only follow inflation. And this wasn't a horrible thing before the Great Recession. Before the Great Recession, they tracked pretty close. If you notice the 08-09, which is really before all those property losses hit, the dark blue was pretty close to the light blue, which means the value of the homes and the amount we could tax on those homes was pretty close. After 2008, where property values in Garden City went down tremendously. We all remember that, unfortunately. You could see even the values and the taxable values all stay together, but they all dipped to significantly lower amounts, which lowered the amount of revenue coming into the city, which lowered the amount of money we had to employ police officers, firefighters, DPS, all the necessary parts of the city, and to pay for some of our retirement costs and legacy costs. So those amounts dipped, particularly low at about 2012, 2013, and you notice that's when we first went out and requested a public safety millage. Now you say, well, city manager, property values are a whole lot bigger these days, a whole lot more these days. In fact, the actual value of Garden City homes in the state equalized value has crossed $1 billion, $1 billion. But our taxable value is actually still less than 2008. So we're at $715 million of taxable value, even though the value of Garden City homes are over $1 billion. It's because we've only been able to go up with inflation. And recently, inflation's been a little high, so we've been able to go up, but there's a cost that goes with inflation. It's everything costs more, right? Your police officers cost more, your vehicles cost more, everything costs more. So we're in this trap by Prop A and Headley that says even though residents' values are going up and taxable value just doesn't follow it, and even though costs are going up, taxable value doesn't follow it. And if you really want to put it in context, you can look at it adjusted for inflation. So Zach, if you can go to the next slide. If I adjust the money we were bringing in 2008 to today's dollars, in value, if we looked at it in today's dollars, we were much better off in 2008 in value because a dollar, let's see, in 2008 is a dollar was worth $1.46 these days. So really what we're looking at is inflation kind of causing all the home values and everything to run away from us and our taxable value to stay the same. And we're still less in taxable value than we were in 2008. Yet we've still got to deliver services that the citizens deserve in a timely fashion, in a professional manner, at the costs of today's costs, not the 2008 costs. So how does this affect our general revenue? On the next slide, if you take a look at, so we brought in our general operating tax millage. This is the millage that we, in our charter, have this is the cost of government. It's our general operating millage. It's the thing that should pay for all governmental services. And in 2008, we brought in $11.5 million. I'm sorry, in 2008, we brought in $12.2 million. Fast forward all the way through the Great Recession. In 24-25, we're anticipated to bring $10.7 million. So even though inflation has caused the value of the dollar to rise, or to go lower, we're still less than the taxable amounts we brought in 2008. Now, it gets even worse when you adjust for inflation. Zach, if you could go to the next slide. Adjusting those dollars for inflation, this is really what our real revenue feels like to us. In 2008, 2009, and back, we had what today's dollars would feel like and be able to spend like $17 to $18 million. Yet our general operating is only going to bring in 10, maybe 11 million. So when did the public safety millage first come into play? 2012, and you could say that's our biggest decrease, and it's renewed since. And what it's helped us to do is maintain those services that residents in Garden City have come to expect. That doesn't mean we haven't cut costs then, because in 2008, 2006, 2007, we had a tremendously larger employee force, which we reduced. But to this day, our revenues and still haven't regained the amounts we had before the recession. So I understand you see these property values in Garden City going way higher than we've ever seen, and you say, wow, the city must be doing okay as far as tax revenue is concerned. It's not that simple. Prop A and Headley have limited us to just raising with inflation, and home values have exceeded far beyond inflation. So when we're talking about what the city brings in, and we're talking about why the city would ask again for to put a public safety millage thing on the ballot, that's why. We're still falling quite far short of our pre-recession revenues, and it'll take a long time for us to catch up. The only time you don't get restricted by Prop A or Headley is when you have new construction. Sometimes it can uncap, but even then Headley comes along and makes sure you stay right at raising only with inflation. So as the cost of everything goes up, and sometimes certain things, especially like the city sees, like the cost of healthcare and the cost of vehicles and the cost of employees and things like that, those rise beyond inflation quite often, and those are our biggest costs. And so just to kind of put it in context, I think there was a question asked right before I retired when I was still police chief. A person came up and said, you guys just started all of a sudden asking for these things, and he didn't understand why. Why would he ask for a public safety millage? Why would he ask for a road bond? Why do you need that money to get by when you used to get by in the general operating? Well, the general operating used to bring in a lot more revenue than it does, and we, because of state law, we just can't recoup that from the same type of taxation. So. Hopefully that covers a lot of it. It's my goal to have some more information out in the very near future about the upcoming public safety millage, and to continue to be, if you have a question about Garden City services, why are you guys doing this, to be as open and quick of a response as we can be, to keep you guys informed, to know why we're doing what we're doing. So, and on my last note for the evening, unfortunately, it's come to our attention that, it's political sign time where you're going to see them in people's yards and you're going to see them out and about. We've had some people make complaints about the theft of signs. It's important to remember that if you're stealing a political sign, that is a crime. If you're destroying a political sign, that is malicious destruction of property. If you steal a bunch, you could start with a misdemeanor with one sign and at a certain point hit a felony. So let other people's advertisements for political signs stay where they're at, and endorse the people you want to endorse, and don't put yourself in a bad position. So, and that's all I have for tonight, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. City Clerk, Mr. Smith.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So I'm going to ask you to bear with me because this is probably the most I've spoken in quite some time, but I got a few items that I just want to touch base on. Here's got our Shred Day report. Shred Day, we continue to get more and more cars for it, not counting that one first time after COVID year, which we put an asterisk next to. This was our highest turnout ever. We had 263 cars and 10 walk-ups. So I just want to thank all our staff and volunteers who were out there, who did Shred Day. Cram the Cruiser was a big success. Our donations for the food pantry, in addition to all the food that was donated, we got $338 in cash donations for the pantry. The prescription take-back event, thanks to Secretary of State for bringing the mobile unit back for the second weekend in a row and helping out with that. And I'd be remiss if I didn't give a special thank you to Jade Hunter. She has been volunteering for Shred Day since she was voluntold by her mother when she was starting out in high school. But now even after graduation, she still comes back and volunteers for that event. So thanks for everyone for coming out. It was the warmest Shred Day on record. We do keep track of the temperature and weather conditions for each one, so it was the warmest one we've had. The next thing, a lot of questions I've been getting this week, absentee ballots. I know everyone wants to know when are the absentee ballots going out. The goal is Thursday of this week. At the last meeting, I said I kind of tried and want to get them out a little bit earlier. We were having to monitor some court cases, if a name was going to stay on a ballot, come off a ballot. I think that's taken care of, but we didn't want to jump the gun, send everything out, and then have to recall 4,000 ballots. So they will be going out the end of this week. So if you've requested your absentee ballot, you should have it by the end of next week. If you don't have it by the end of next week, give my office a call. We'll check the status of your application. Another thing that I want to remind everyone, because sometimes people are like, oh, you always just send me a ballot. I've never had to do an application before. State law has always required you to do an application for each election cycle. So if you haven't voted since 2022 and done an application, you'll have to redo an application for November. The good news for you is with the recent legislation, there is now a permanent ballot list. So when you do your application this year, there is a box that says send me a ballot for all future elections. If you check that box, you won't have to do this application every time. As long as you're still an active registered voter in the system, we'll send you a ballot for each future election. But if you haven't turned in an application, you haven't voted in the presidential primary, the August primary this year, you may have to do a new application to get your ballot for November. Good news is, if you haven't turned in your application yet, you have plenty of time still. Once we do our initial batch this week, every day we're going to be sending out ballots. We'll get the applications in, we'll process them that day, put the ballots out in the mail, so you have plenty of time. So that's 2. Item number 3, some of you may have already noticed if you've come up and spoke, we have a new public comment card for the public. When you come in, you can fill it out. You can let us know if you are here to talk about a community event or you're going to come up during public comment, just so we know which time, if it's a community event and I hold it till public comment, that way we'll know it's a community event. But the nice thing about this is you can leave your contact information, and then also if there's any introverts out there, maybe like, I don't know if I really want to get up and speak, you can check a box that says, I don't really want to come up and speak, but I still have a question for you guys. And you can fill out, you can write your question in, get it to me. You took the time to come out to the meeting. We want to be, get answers to you. So you can write your question in, and then the next day after the council meeting, I can get it to the department where it needs to go to so somebody can follow up with you. Also, if you see, you might turn one in, I might be writing on your card that you turn in. That's just so I can write down your questions, so tomorrow we can get it to the departments and then get a better response for you in a more timely fashion. So that's our new comment card. And finally, following up on questions from last council meeting, Councilmember Earl, when we talked about the ethics board, had a question about how somebody would submit something to the ethics board. In the ordinance, it does list, as city clerk, I'm the city liaison to receive the inquiries. In the ordinance, it says they can submit it by mail to my office or through an online portal on the city website. Right now, we can do mail. I'm still working. I'm going to work with communications to get the online portal set up because we want to preserve the confidentiality, So I want to make sure any web portal that we set up, if somebody puts it through, it only comes through to me and it's not CCing any other department or anything else on it. So that should be in the next couple weeks. That should be live and good to go. But right now, mail works, but once both are taken care of, it will be mail and the web portal. And that's all I've got.
That's it?
Yep.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Dole.
First off, I'd like to thank City Clerk Smith and our city manager, Mr. Gibbons, for very comprehensive reports tonight. It makes me very excited, and I have good positive feelings moving forward that the residents will feel that their questions are answered and correctly answered. So thank you so much for your reports tonight. The only thing I really have, I did want a quick mention, though. Mr. Jones came up and said something about the farmhouse, the food truck thing that they're doing, the Oktoberfest. It starts at noon and runs till 8. I think you just forgot to say when it started. That's all. And the only other thing I have tonight is our Goodfellow Helpline will be opening on Tuesday, October 1st. It closes on Friday, November 1st, so it will be open for 1 month. That number is 734-679-7838. So when you call, just leave the information that it will ask for, and you will get an application mailed to you. It may take a couple of weeks, but you will get it. You can also contact us on our Facebook page, Garden City Goodfellows. Send a message that way. Or if you know a family that may need some help, you can let us know about them, and we'll follow up on that. And that is all I have tonight. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Lynch.
Just a thank you for all the information tonight. It was very informative. Thanks. That's it.
That's it. Thank you. Councilmember Witt.
Thank you, Mayor. Just one quick thing. If you weren't at the chili cook-off and didn't happen to see the new logo for this year's Santaland Parade, which is Snowflakes and Cobwebs, A Haunted Holiday, we do have hoodies available for purchase, as well as on the website, www.santalandparade.com. There are a few other options for shirts available with that design for this year's theme. Next council meeting, I will have my hoodie, and I will be wearing that to show off the design. But that's all that I have.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Squires.
Just one thing. I had the pleasure of setting up for Angela Hospice at the Senior Health and Wellness Expo on the 17th. And I was extremely happy to see how many seniors did come through and check out the tables and the different companies that were represented. So it was good to see that. Just wanted to thank everybody that came out. And thank you for all the information from both the clerk and city manager. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Karafotis.
I just have a couple of quick things. One of them, since we called for the I just lost my train of thought. The public hearing for the marijuana establishment regulations, maybe we could have a conversation in the future about if we're going to earmark those funds that we're going to be receiving. I think it's $50,000 per establishment. If we're going to earmark those, like we're going to say there's 3 of those establishments, we get $150,000 a year. Is that going to go to the police for their improvements? Are we going to earmark that for Parks and Rec? I think that would be a good idea for us to talk about that. You know, maybe the police get it for 5 years and the Parks and Rec get it for 5 years. And that way, you know, when people talk about it, oh, marijuana is going to bring more crime to our city. Okay, well, the police are getting an extra $150,000 to take care of what they want to take care of. Or our parks can be added to, you know, more equipment or, you know, better taken care of, that kind of thing. So I hope we can have that conversation in the future. And then the other thing I want to talk about, the resident that spoke today about the sidewalk ordinance. I know we talked about this before and that we did receive the money and we're going to be making plans. We're really not going to get into that. I think we talked about it earlier till the spring. But she's not the only resident that is kind of on the brink of, am I going to sell my house and have to pay for this, or am I going to have to do that? Is there any way that we could just suspend that ordinance until we decide what we're going to do? Because there's a lot of people that are saying, well, why do I have to do it next month when we know in 4 months my neighbor doesn't have to do it? So, I mean, what does everybody think about that? I mean, there's a lot of people already that are saying that. Well, I was going to sell my house in the winter, and I'm going to have to do it, but she's going to sell hers in March, and she doesn't have to do it. Maybe.
I think the problem with that is what your cutoff date is. I had a stepson that just bought a house in Garden City 3 months ago. Do we go back 3 months? Do we go back 6 months?
I'm not saying go back.
Well, if you're a rental property, this ordinance has been in effect for a while. It's not like it just came up now.
I didn't say anything about a rental property. I'm just saying, in general, can we suspend this ordinance until we figure out what we're going to do with the money?
for regular, I guess we could, it would take a vote, but I guess the issue would be, it's going into escrow to either the homeowner or the purchaser pays for it, but so we'd have to have I guess a discussion and a meeting on it to possibly do that. And I don't know what it would take. Would it be a supermajority to suspend that?
Oh, I would leave that to the clerk, but at the same time, I can prepare some information as to the status of that sidewalk grant to know when we could expect the money so that we could have kind of a general idea of when's it coming, what is it guaranteed? You know, as we've learned with some grants lately, we want to make sure the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed before we take any action, but I can definitely work that up over the next week. And
I think that Mr. Miller kind of gave us a timeline on that and said it wouldn't be until like March. So if we get an update, that'd be great. And if we could put it on the next agenda just to talk about with some more information from you, that would be great.
Absolutely, and I'll let the clerk answer the necessary votes for.
I'd have to confirm, but I would believe to suspend an ordinance, it would be the same as if you were enacting an ordinance. But if we're putting together stuff for the next meeting, we'll have a definitive answer by then.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Earl.
Thank you, Mayor. Just two quick things. First, I appreciate hearing from the union. I wish I would have more in my 7 years up here. Please feel free and come to the council meetings and talk to us. I think it's very important. I have a lot of respect and support for the workers and love to hear from them. And the other thing I have to say is I greatly appreciate the updates from the city manager and the clerk. I do want to add also, to make it look a little worse, is revenue sharing. The state of Michigan takes the first dip into the taxes, and they don't always give us back what they have been giving back. So we've lost revenue sharing over the last few years, which means even less money coming into the city. So good luck with that, and that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Just a couple things for me. For your marijuana, as far as the like money for the police and that, we are allowed to charge that $5,000 per license due to the extra police presence that we can have in different parties. So that would go into that conversation we could have with where that money would go. There's a fee schedule that we can follow. And yes, Shred Day was awesome. I want to thank the Secretary of State for coming out and bringing the mobile unit. It benefited a bunch of people, and that was 2 weeks in a row that they were kind enough to come out, and we're trying to set it up for future events to get them continuing to come back. And yes, it was hot on Shred Day. Other than that, thank you for all the information, and no further business. This meeting is adjourned.